Good afternoon and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This is Zach Ewing, Devin Jackson, and Jim Derry. We're here with you for At the Book Thanksgiving edition. And for the first time, we are actually at the book. At least I am, as you can see here at the Caesars Sportsbook at Harrah's Casino, New Orleans. A lively atmosphere in here as we get ready for Saints and Bills in just a couple of hours. We got the Cowboys and Raiders on some of those TVs just around the corner. You can see the sportsbook behind me, people making bets on the mobile kiosks. It is all happening today, except potentially for a Saints win. And we will have plenty to talk about as far as that goes. We'll also talk to James Carville. He made his picks for us even on a holiday. Talked to him a little bit earlier this week. And so we'll have that for you. We'll talk to Saints beat writer Amie Just for the New Orleans Times-Picayune, and she'll give us the lowdown on all of the injuries the Saints have today against the Buffalo Bills before she heads over to the Caesars Superdome. But first, it will be myself, Devin, and Jim to talk just a little bit about that Saints-Bills game tonight. And also, we might talk a little Bears-Lions. We might talk a little Cowboys-Raiders as it goes on. And we will talk the rest of the weekend in college football and the NFL. Fellas, how you doing? Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Zach. Glad you're having a little fun out there.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving as well, Zach. Good to see you at the book. I got to be there last month. It was a very fun atmosphere, so I'm sure it'll be the same way today, especially with we're on our second of 3 NFL games.
Yeah, listen, people say all sorts of things that they like about Thanksgiving, the food, the family, but usually somewhere in the top 3 is football, right? And so that is where we're at right now. The Bears survived the Lions earlier today, 16-14. It was as brutal of a game as advertised. I don't know if y'all watched it. It was terrible football. But the Bears got a win, so I guess they're happy. And Lions backers got a cover, by the way.
Yeah, no doubt. It was not good for a lot of bettors who got that hook and lost it on the hook. And that's one weird case where you were better off betting the Bears money line. Otherwise, if you didn't bet the Lions, you lost. But the under is always not always a sure bet, but under is often a sure bet in games like that. And obviously, in hindsight, that was probably the play.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Jerry. Jerry Poor checking in on YouTube. Hey, if you like what you see, hit us a like, hit us a subscribe on YouTube or a like on Facebook. We are here at the book on bet.NOLA.com, brought to you by the Caesars Sportsbook right here at Harrah's Casino, and coming soon on your mobile app. And if you want to be ready, check out NOLA.com/Caesars. That is the best way to get ready for mobile betting in Louisiana. You can have a $100 free bet bonus in your account when mobile betting goes live sometime. We're thinking the next month to 6 weeks. Some varying reports out there. So we will, let's see. Swampy says, can't you just fire that one guy? We're talking about the Saints. I'm not sure who you're talking about, but there's a lot of people they could be talking about right now.
Probably talking about me.
Oh, well, maybe. I'm not going to fire you yet, though.
It's Thanksgiving. I mean, you can wait till at least after Christmas.
Yeah, it's Christmas time, man. No. But, hey, Saints-Bills coming up at 7:20. This line has gone up and up and up and up and up all week. It's all the way up to Bills -7. It had gone down as low as 4. And as Jerry says here, he's given us the headlines. No Alvin Kamara, no Mark Ingram. Tony Jones Jr. is going to play. Ty Montgomery probably plays some at running back. Obviously, Trevor Siemian starting at quarterback. No Ryan Ramczyk. We know no Michael Thomas or Jameis Winston. It is just a brutal scenario for the Saints. It's like they're playing a preseason game almost.
There's no question. And, I mean, if you look at it, I'm never one to jump on lines that keep going up and up and up, not, away from the way that I want it to go. But, I mean, in this case, how do you even think about betting the Saints here? I mean, I'm not sure they're going to be able to score tonight. I mean, we were texting back and forth, and you said you get the Saints under 12 for plus 300. I think that's the bet of the night. I don't see how they're going to score more in the double digits with this quarterback, with no weapons, with missing Ryan Ramczyk and potentially Teron Armstead. I mean, you just cannot bet on the Saints here. If you don't like the Bills, if you don't want to give up the 7, then don't bet it.
Yeah, I could see maybe in a teaser if you're getting the Saints up to 13, or especially if it goes up, say, to 7.5, and you get 13 in that hook, or even a 7-point teaser and getting 14 in the hook. Then I could start to see where the Saints would be attractive, but it's tough. And we'll talk about this with Amie Just here in just a few minutes. But Sean Payton has been terrific as an underdog. If you're looking for a reason for hope for the Saints, it reminds me a little bit of 3 years ago when Drew Brees got hurt in L.A. and they were going up to Seattle the next week, and nobody gave them a chance. Not a chance. And Alvin Kamara had a big day. Deontay Harris returned a punt for a touchdown. And they hit the Seahawks in the mouth with a bunch of stuff that Seattle didn't see coming.
Big difference.
Sean Payton has done that.
Big difference, though. I mean, they had all the other weapons. They weren't missing everybody. This one, they're missing everybody. And they're facing a desperate Buffalo team that's looked terrible 2 of the last 3 weeks, who's actually starting to get healthy, the opposite of the Saints. This is not a good spot for New Orleans at all. I like them better next week, honestly. I think, assuming they get Kamara back, and if they were to get Ramczyk back, I think they could have a great line set up for them next week where they're a touchdown or an 8-point underdog next week at home. I like them much better in that's a situation. Tonight, I just don't see how they score. This Buffalo defense is very underrated, even though they're ranked number 1 overall in yards per game. They're still underrated. And I know they had a bad game last week, and don't think they don't want to get that taste out of their mouths.
So it's Thanksgiving, and Jim's being a downer. Devin, any reason for Saints fans to hope for an upset on Thanksgiving night?
Well, the only thing I can say is maybe the emotions with Drew Brees in the Superdome, but after the game starts, it's not going to matter. It's going to be a tough game for the Saints to win. They honestly have to play the perfect game. And even if they play the perfect game, they have to have things fall their way, like bounces, interceptions, fumbles. They have to create multiple turnovers defensively, give the offense a short field, and just hope for the best, because I think the defense will hold their own. I think they'll be able to, kind of limit Buffalo, especially in that first half. But if it turns into a game like Carolina, it turns into a game like Philly where they dominate the time of possession, the game is going to get ugly in the second half, and the offense is not going to have answers. So they're going to need a lot of help from their defense, especially a unit that's played pretty solid all season long. And they're going to have to have a perfect game from Simeon, and that still might not be enough in this game. So it's going to be a tough one for the Saints to win, because now you already were short on weapons. You were already short on people that are healthy, and now you go into this game with both of your top running backs down. Obviously, we know about Michael Thomas, Troutman, offensive linemen going down as well. It's going to be a tough game for the Saints to win. And I mean, I don't like to doubt Sean Payton, but this is definitely more than he could outcoach anyone. I mean, it's a tough scenario right now.
Yeah, it is. And I will say the Saints will have a home field advantage. They have a good home field advantage. But just having driven across downtown New Orleans a couple times in the last couple hours, there are thousands of Bills fans here too. And so it's not going to be as much of a one-sided situation as you're used to in the Dome. And if you think about that, if you live in Buffalo, it's November, you see on the schedule that the Saints, your team is at the Saints on Thanksgiving, you have some time off work. Why the hell not? Would you not come to New Orleans for Thanksgiving weekend? The weather's going to be much better. You get out of the cold. They have one of their best teams in a generation. And so a lot of them have heeded that call and come down here. There are thousands of Bills fans in downtown New Orleans right now who will be at the Dome tonight. Swampy's blowing us up. Swampy McGee, which of you has the best record against the spread? That would be Mr. Devin Jackson. That would be not particularly close right now. Wait, don't furrow your eyebrow at me, Jim.
What are we counting? If we're counting, are we counting best record against the spread, Carville picks? What are we counting?
Well, Devin's not in the Carville picks.
Oh, that's right.
But okay. I would assume that his record against the spread is better than anybody. At least the on the record picks.
So you're assuming?
I mean, no, I'm not. What's his record's like 70% against the spread this year.
I'm just saying you're picking big bucks dollars. We haven't counted. We assume so.
But that's the only thing he's picked. There's nothing to assume. So
I think tonight, whatever tickets you do, you just should go to the window when it's over and say, I assume I won. Can you give me my money, please?
I'm going to go to those mobile kiosks and see if they have an assume button.
They should. They should. It's Thanksgiving.
That's right, Robert. Why wouldn't Bills fans nothing against Buffalo, but it's cold and snowy right now. I would rather be here. It's a lot of fun, and if you're just like if the Saints were in Miami on Thanksgiving weekend, you'd have to think about that trip, right? You'd have to, or LA. Somewhere desirable to go that's gets you out of the house and away from home. So anyway, yeah, Nature Dairy. It's as we said.
You do, Swampy, you do not want to be in my house right now. Trust me. There's a lot of great food, but you eat your food and you get out of the house because they got a lot of cackling going on in my house. You wouldn't be able to hear me. All you're able to do is hear cackling and people screaming at the TV. So I had to come outside to be able to talk to you guys today.
So the mother-in-law's there. It's just a bad situation.
It's not
something you want.
I mean, it is what it is. It's Thanksgiving,
not
man.
You want. Yeah. And then see, he's in nature, and I'm in the opposite of nature, in the middle of a casino, which is fun too. But there's nothing natural about it. It's the most artificial place you can be. This is At the Book on bet.nola.com. We're getting you set for Bills and Saints tonight at 7:20. We've got plenty of other stuff to talk about too. We'll get to James Carville's picks for the week here in a little while, and then we will talk about a big college football weekend. Jim, it's interesting. You had a good stat. The last time the Bills beat the Saints, who were the quarterbacks the last time the Bills beat the Saints?
The Bills quarterback was Rob Johnson. Remember him? And the Saints quarterback was Billy Joe Tolliver, not Hobart, Billy Joe Tolliver, and Mike Ditka was the coach. December of 1998. My 23-year-old son was 7 months old.
Was that the year that Doug Flutie got hurt and Rob Johnson had to come in for him? Am I remembering that correctly?
I'm not sure if that was that same year or not, but I mean, Rob Johnson actually played a decent amount, and the Bills weren't terrible then. But and another interesting stat is these teams have only played each other 11 times. This is just the 12th meeting between the two. They have only played, if I remember it correctly, they've only played 4 times in Buffalo. And the Saints have only lost once, and obviously this isn't in Buffalo, but the Saints have only lost one time in Buffalo. It was the first time they ever met, and they never met until 1983. So obviously these are two teams that don't face off against each other one another very often. Since the schedule has changed and you're forced to play each other every 4 years, it's a little bit different than it used to be. But yeah, these two teams don't play each other very much.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously every 4-year deal. The last time they played was in Buffalo, and the Saints were on a roll then, and they ran. I think they ran for like 250 yards in that game. But tonight we expect a different story. Bills are 7-point favorites over the Saints. 7:20 tonight on NBC. And now we would like to welcome Times-Picayune NOLA.com beat writer Amie Just for the Saints. Hi, Amie.
Hi. How are y'all?
We're good. We're just talking a little doomsday Saints scenarios here. So you are close to the team. You talk to them every day. How bad is it right now?
They are not very lucky with injuries right now. I will tell you that. If for some reason Tony Jones Jr. is still on anybody's waiver wire, I would pick him up because Alvin is already out, and it sounds like Mark Ingram's not going to play. So yeah, that's not great. And then all the other injuries too. Also not great.
It's just been a season full of misfortune, it seems like. And a couple of weeks ago, people are talking about Sean Payton as a coach of the year for overcoming it, beating the Buccaneers, leading them to a 5-2 record. But as we know, a 3-game losing streak can change an awful lot in the NFL. And so now they're 5-5. Do you see this turning around? I mean, what is the level of confidence around the building?
So the team obviously has confidence in itself. I'd be worried if it didn't, to be honest. Why would you ever admit that you don't? I don't know what'll happen tonight. Doesn't sound good, but Sean Payton is Sean Payton, so I never try to let's just say I am horrible with my predictions this season. I think I'm like 3 and whatever.
3-7.
This team makes no sense. It doesn't. If you were to say, oh, they're going to beat the Packers, beat the Super Bowl, like the reigning Super Bowl champions, but lose to the Giants and the Eagles, like, I'm sorry. What? Like, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm just saying someone in this 4 box is 8-2 against the spread when picking the Saints. I'm not sure which person it is. I don't want to assume like Zach does, but I think it's me, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to check that.
Well,
Jerry.
see, you get the spread. We have to pick straight up. So.
Well, it's much easier against the spread, right? I mean, we're all making a lot of money.
Derry, we're about to talk big bucks, so I wouldn't puff your chest out.
My internet's gonna break before we get to that.
We're gonna talk big bucks in a few minutes, and that head will shrink. We have an interesting question from a reader here, Amie. Robert Whitlock said he read an article about Peyton's prep for short rest and how good he is on short rest. Do you put any credence in that? And is that something that affects the Saints positively or negatively this week?
Yeah, so I have a lot of credence, but that's short rest with healthy players, right? So there's only so much you can do this week on a short week with a bunch of starters out again against a Bills team that has been struggling lately and is also looking to bounce back. So it's definitely not a gimme, and it wouldn't have been even with the starters.
What about the defense? I mean, because when they were winning with defense, even when Jameis Winston was the quarterback. And that side of the ball seems to have gone south. And there are injuries on that side too, but not quite as many.
Yeah.
What's the level of concern with the defense?
So my biggest concern defensively for tonight will be edge rush, because both Marcus Davenport and Tano Passanio are out. And the linebackers need to be better in pass coverage. Last week wasn't Demario Davis' best game. He'll tell that to you as well. So, yeah, they've got to figure it out. And if you're not getting pressure on Josh Allen, that could be bad.
News of the week, the Taysom Hill extension. I guess news of the week besides the injuries was the Taysom Hill extension. How do they use him tonight and going forward the rest of the year?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. So last week he was active but didn't play because the emergency quarterback, because he'd been dealing with a foot injury and only practiced once last week. This week he practiced every day. But just looking at the numbers, I got most of the contract numbers, not all of them, today. And you wonder, you almost have to increase his role if you're paying him much. Like, I don't understand paying him that much and having him not play. If he's not healthy, he's not healthy, right? But he's got to factor in more.
Will he ever be the starting quarterback at any point this season in your mind?
Knock on wood, but the way injuries are going, you never know what could happen. But other
barring
than that,
an injury.
But I don't know. They really like Trevor. Last week was by far his worst game of the season. One of the worst games of his career through the first 3 quarters. But yeah, things have to be really bad with Trevor, I think, for them to make that switch. And maybe we'll get there, but
define really bad, Amie. I mean, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but really, what is worse than what we've seen? I mean, I don't understand what really bad means. I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I don't understand what really bad is.
Yeah.
I mean, 0-3 and digging yourself a hole to where through the first 3 quarters, I think it's 50-13 in his 3 starts. They're losing. Yeah, so, I mean, how much worse do you want to be?
I mean, I don't want things to
I don't mean
worse.
you. I don't mean you. I don't mean you per se.
I have to, talk with these guys and, I don't want it to get any worse. But multiple first half picks again. I don't know. What isn't helping him in his first start, what didn't help him in his first start were all of the drops. He looked pretty decent aside from those. The receivers aren't helping him out really at all. And then you have the 2 biggest offensive weapons this team has out. Obviously, Michael Thomas hasn't played all year, but Alvin Kamara not being in there hasn't helped him either. But you do have to make it work with who you have. And last week, it didn't show that he was doing that. Again, both tackles are out last week. Okay. But they've got to figure something out there. And they need some juice. I said when this all started that, Trevor should be the starter and throw Taysom in for what he's been doing to give them some juice. And maybe we'll see more of that tonight. Maybe that'll help. Maybe that'll throw the defense off a little bit for Buffalo. Yeah, I don't know. And if I knew the answer, I think I would have a much bigger paycheck if I had the answers. I think
you could just be right here instead of covering the game if you knew these things.
True.
Let's take a turn for the positive, though. Drew Brees will be in the house tonight for the first time since he retired. Of course, we expect the reception to be loving and enthusiastic. You had a big story this morning, Sports Front, of the Thanksgiving edition of the Times-Picayune, if folks could find it between all the ads. But, how was Drew, and what does he expect tonight? How emotional are things going to get?
So he's going to do his best to keep calling the game as professional and I don't want to say emotionless, because if you're a broadcaster and you're emotionless, it's not a good broadcast. But I don't think he'll get weepy until like halftime when he's down there being honored. He a couple times had to think about the words he wanted to say because he was starting to get caught up in a little bit of the emotions in our interview on Monday. So I have no doubt that he's going to be incredibly reflective and emotional. How that manifests, I'm not sure. If he stumbles over his words or if he does start to cry, that wouldn't surprise me either. This team has meant everything for him for the past 16 years of his life. And he didn't get to go out the way that he wanted to, not only with the playoff loss, but with no fans in the stands for his entire last season. Like, that's unfortunate. Like, he talked about his favorite thing of being a Saints player is the sounds from the Superdome. He went on about it for like 5 minutes. And he didn't get that for his last year. So however many fans show up, I know there'll be a lot of Buffalo fans there tonight, but like hearing the Who Dat chant and being present with the cheers and everything going on, I think it's going to make him emotional.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt it will be. And my limited experiences with him, I was with him at a Star of Stars banquet for the Advocate in Baton Rouge, and just in general watching him, he seems to prefer everything to be sort of scripted. I mean, that's the way he played too, right? Like he wanted to know what to do in every situation. And I have a feeling things could go off script tonight because it will get emotional.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. We talked about that too, him visualizing everything. Like he made a joke that he can't visualize everything perfectly because he hasn't seen the renovations yet. And I thought that was really funny and something only Drew would say, right? But he also doesn't know the exact route that he's going to take from the booth to get to the field. So that was making him a little nervous too, just because he likes to know how things are going to go. And obviously he'll figure it out, right? But yeah, I think things will get a little unscripted, like you said.
And to be fair, he was pretty good as a player when things went off script too. I mean,
yeah.
He figured it out.
Not very many quarterbacks or not many coaches give entire full reign to inside the 2-minute warning to their quarterback. It doesn't happen very often.
No, but he's one guy you'd want. So
yeah.
Let's go big picture here just for a minute. Obviously, we're going from Drew Brees to Trevor Siemian a year later. We're going from a Super Bowl contender to a team that's just on the fringe of making the playoffs. How big are the next 2 weeks for the Saints? Because we sat here on the show a month ago and said, "Hey, look, they lost Jameis Winston. These next 4 games, 2 are on the road, 2 are home games, but difficult first place opponents in the Bills and the Cowboys." It seemed almost like Sean Payton and company was willing to, I don't want to use the word punt in Philadelphia, but they were putting the focus on these games, trying to get healthy That obviously didn't happen. But how much emphasis are they putting on trying to survive these next 2 games and staying in the playoff picture?
Yeah, I think it's really important. They have to win at least one of these next 2. If they lose tonight, that's 4 straight losses. That hasn't happened under Sean Payton much at all. If they drop next week too, that's 5, which is unfathomable at the beginning of the season.
And the playoffs are out at that point, I think. I mean, you can't.
Mostly. Sorry, someone's at my door and is ringing the constantly. Yeah, I think it's not completely out of the picture if they lose both of them, but they need a lot of help from a lot of other teams, and that's not a position you want to be in, especially because after that, okay, you still have to play Tampa again.
Yes, you do. Yep.
So,
Amie, your prediction for this one was Buffalo 30, New Orleans 17. Anything since you made that pick earlier in the week that would change your mind?
No. I don't think it's going to be close. But who knows? I'm wrong a lot, so maybe I'm wrong again.
Maybe the Amie Just fade is the way to go tonight. So,
maybe.
Amie, we appreciate you joining us. We know you need to get over to the Dome, so good luck tonight. Have fun.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. That's Amie Just, beat writer for the New Orleans Times-Picayune, one of our Saints beat writers. You can read her coverage every day in the Times-Picayune and on NOLA.com, including this morning her feature on Drew Brees after her chat with him. So, I don't know, Devin, are you more or less optimistic after listening to Amie? She didn't paint a rosy picture there.
Pretty much the same as before. I think we all kind of noted some of the things she said about this team and the concerns they have, and it's well documented by everyone. I think everyone sees and understands what's going on with the Saints and kind of their chances tonight. So, she mentioned kind of the emotions of Drew Brees being there. I do think that'll be somewhat of a factor, but I don't think it will ultimately change the outcome of the game.
Well, I got to say, I am seeing more and more Saints fans walk through the casino here. So, listen, there's lots of Bills fans here. It will still be a home field advantage. There's no doubt about that. Let's take a step back from the Saints game. We'll come back to it at the end of the show, but I do want to talk about the rest of the football weekend, as we do every week here on At the Book. We're on bet.nola.com and brought to you by Caesar Sportsbook. I'm Zach Ewing, live inside Harrah's, New Orleans, joined by Devin Jackson and Jim Derry. And earlier this week, I was joined by James Carville, who, as he does normally every Thursday, this week we did it early, talked to us about his picks. You can make your picks against James at NOLA.com/cashin. And there are monthly prizes, there are season-long prizes. It's just a lot of fun to see how you stack up against everybody else and Mr. Carville. So let's see what he did this week, this Thanksgiving week. Here it is for Week 12, Cashin' In with Carville. Well, hey, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome to Cashin' In with Carville, a special holiday edition. James Carville is here with me, Zach Ewing, and we come to you on Thanksgiving. James, I got to ask you first, what are your favorite traditions on this very fine holiday of ours, besides watching football?
I'll take a long run, late in the morning. I watch football. I'm not a huge fan of traditional Thanksgiving fare. I'll eat a little of it, but I like the sides a lot, and I like the bourbon in the middle of the day. So it's a good holiday, and I'm up in the DC area, so I'm spending it here with my wife and 3 of our friends. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. I really am.
Very good. Very good.
Games will be good.
I told my kids my least favorite part of Thanksgiving dinner was the turkey, and they looked at me like I was a criminal. But the side dishes are where it's at.
I agree with you totally. I'm not a big fowl eater, but and we always get like a tenderloin or something. So that I'll generally eat that. I'm just not a big fan of traditional Thanksgiving or Christmas Day fare, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Well, I like New Year's Day. I like cabbage and black beans.
There you go. A true Southern man.
Yeah.
A true Southern man.
Yeah.
And we do like the football on Thanksgiving.
Oh, we do a lot.
The Saints play Thanksgiving night against the Bills. They're quite frankly a mess right now.
I don't pick Saints games, but I love them Thursday night. I mean, Sean Payton is not going to lose 4 football games in a row. I have no idea what he's going to do. All right, but he's at home. It's a short week. I can't imagine. I think he's one of the 3 best coaches in the entire NFL, and they've had some issues, but I mean, they signed Taysom Hill to a huge contract, so they generally know what they're doing. I mean, they've proven to their fan base over a period of time that they're pretty good at this stuff.
Maybe it is time for Taysom then.
Maybe, I don't
know. Well, speaking of local teams and coaches, we hope maybe by the end of this week, maybe next week, we'll know on the LSU coach. The names that have come out recently: Dave Aranda, the former defensive coordinator here, and then Billy Napier, who's coach at UL in Lafayette up the road. Do you like those names? What are you hearing on those names? Do you think it will be one of those?
I think that they're still landing the plane. There's probably, multiple conversations going on. I think whoever they get, they're going to do fine. I mean, you got to remember, this is the best recruiting. You're in the middle of probably the most fertile recruiting field anywhere in the country. And so I'm very optimistic about the kind of future of LSU football, really am. And I think Miranda, maybe any of the guys, it might be somebody that we don't know just yet. I wouldn't put that, but I think I feel very optimistic about our future.
The hope is to be playing in some of these games like the kind we have this weekend. There are some really big college games this weekend, and LSU hopes to be back there. Yeah. The Egg Bowl Thursday night, Mississippi and Mississippi State is one of them. That kind of gets it going. A bunch of games on Friday, and then 3 really big ones on Saturday. And those are the ones we'll pick here today. We'll start with the big noon game, noon Eastern, Ohio State at Michigan. The Buckeyes are -8. They've been playing real well, but of course Michigan has too. So where do you lean here?
Yeah, I kind of lean toward Michigan. I love this thing. For many years, it was like one of the most significant games of the whole college football season. It's back to that level of glory, and I think 8 points is a lot in a rivalry game like this. I really do.
Taking the points there. How about at the Iron Bowl on the Plains in Auburn? Auburn lost its quarterback to injury, Bo Nix. So former Ponchatoula High grad and LSU quarterback TJ Finley has taken over, and they lost to South Carolina last week. Now they face Alabama. Auburn is getting 19.5 here.
That's too much for a rivalry game like that. Alabama's not lights out. I understand Auburn's falling kind of hard times, but 19.5 points at home, I don't know.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. So
we'll take another dog there.
Yeah.
And then how about one of my favorite names for a rivalry game, the Bedlam game. This year, Oklahoma is at Oklahoma State in Stillwater, and it's the home team getting 3.5 points here, the Cowboys.
The Cowboys are getting 3.5.
I'm sorry, excuse me. The Cowboys are laying 3.5.
Right, I was getting ready to say, wow.
They are laying 3.5.
I'd take the favorite there.
All right, we'll take Oklahoma State.
I think Gundy has got a real chip on his shoulder. I think that program does. They obviously can't stand the people from Norman. And the 3.5 is a lot of points to be laying against a team like Oklahoma. But in this instance, I think it's justified.
So 3 teams at home for Thanksgiving weekend, 3 picks for James Carville in the college games. And now we move on to the NFL. Of course, some big games on Thursday, but also on Sunday, the Buccaneers, fresh off their Monday night win against the Giants. They got to step up in competition, go to Indianapolis, face the Colts. It's Bucks -2.5.
Colts.
Taking the Colts and the points. The Colts obviously playing very well, beat the Bills up last week.
That's unbelievable. I mean, they're hot.
And then, they are definitely hot. And then your afternoon sort of game of the week is the LA Rams up in Green Bay. And this one's a pick 'em. So you just get to go either side here.
Rams.
We'll go with the Rams on the road. Okay.
Yeah, Rams are good. No, Green Bay is good too. It's not.
And then finally, you may remember this. The last time the Browns and Ravens played in prime time, it was a Monday night game a couple years ago, and it was the Lamar Jackson Oh, he's injured. No, he just had to go to the bathroom, and now he's back, and he led the Ravens back to a big victory. So maybe we'll get that much kind of drama Sunday night in Baltimore, but it's Browns at Ravens, and it's Ravens -4.
Brown.
Take the Browns +4. All right.
Browns they're not bad.
No, they've been up and down a little bit, but maybe
and everybody's been. Look at Buffalo. I mean, everybody threw a world beaters. I don't remember NFL season, where any given Sunday is the operative phrase here. I mean, some of these games are not just upsets, but they upsets by a lot.
That is true. Yeah, and the Jets beating the Titans, and then the Texans beat the Titans, but the Titans seem to beat everybody else. So who can predict it?
Who can predict it? And then they don't have Derrick Henry and they win. And you say, well, gee, can't win, boom. In Indianapolis, that's a pretty good ball club there.
No doubt about that. They started 0-3 and now 6-5. Kind of the opposite way of what the Saints are doing, but we hope the Saints will rebound on Thursday night.
I think they're going to rebound. I can't. I'm Coach Payton. He's not sleeping tonight. He can't stand over this like this.
I would not think so.
Stop it.
Well, to wrap it up, speaking of side dishes, any lanyap for us this weekend? Maybe an egg bowl pick.
What is the egg bowl line?
It is Mississippi State -1 last I looked, and they're at home.
No, people got a lot of faith in Mississippi State, don't they?
Mike Leach, you never know. You never know what you get with Mike
He'll
Leach.
be firing away, but that Ole Miss quarterback can, fire too.
No, that's true.
I will enjoy. I don't have a pick, but I'm gonna enjoy that game. And my wife's best friend, very very close friend of mine, as is her husband, president of Mississippi State. So I got some allegiance to the people in Saugville, but I got a lot of friends who went to Ole Miss. I hope they all kill each other.
As I've been saying all week, if things go south with the Saints again, you've got a good game to flip over to on Thursday night. So
yeah, I don't think they're going to go south on the Saints. I really don't. I hope I'm right, because I don't think we can take another loss.
All right, Mr. Carville. Well, we appreciate your time on this holiday week, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
You have a happy Thanksgiving too. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Well, we are back here on At the Book. That was James Carville. We appreciate him for joining us back live here on Thanksgiving Day from Harrah's, New Orleans. I'm Zach Ewing with Devin Jackson and Jim Derry. This is At the Book on bet.NOLA.com, brought to you by the Caesar Sportsbook. Once again, if you want to make picks against James Carville, you can go to NOLA.com/cashin and make your picks. You've got to do it, though, this week by tonight. You've got to do it by 7 o'clock tonight to get in before that Saints-Bills game kicks off. So make sure you do that if you want to compete against Mr. Carville. Guys, James Carville likes the Saints. He says Sean Payton hates losing, Jim. And we're going to be back on the winning track tonight.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Look, we can be confident in Sean Payton, but when you are down like 12, 14, 15 guys that you expect to start and contribute, it's going to be tough for anyone in NFL to win a game against the Buffalo Bills. They're coming off a big-time loss, and they have the Patriots. The Patriots have them in second place, so they have a lot on the line in this game tonight. The Saints, at the very least, I know that it's kind of a must-win game for them, but at the same time, they're going to if they're making the playoff, it's going to be with 8 or 9 wins. So, it's not a complete, devastation if they lose tonight. For the Bills, it will be pretty bad for them to lose tonight, considering the circumstances.
That's a good point. I mean, we don't often think about the other side, and maybe we should more. But, Jim, that's a point you made in your picks column on bet.NOLA.com this week, I think, is that, listen, the Saints are desperate. So are the Buffalo Bills.
Very. And, you got to take the better team, I think, when you're looking at this. And I don't know how anyone can't say Buffalo is wholeheartedly the better team. Now, obviously, they lost to Jacksonville a few weeks ago, and they're clearly a better team over Jacksonville. So you could have people screaming at their phones and computers and iPads and whatever. But this is a whole different situation. You're talking about a healthy Jacksonville team And, Josh Allen of the Jags just had the game of his life in that one, and they played excellent defense. And so the Saints are going to need to have any chance to win tonight. This is going to have to be a super low scoring game. There is no way you can bet the Saints in the over. So make sure you record this. So when the Saints win 48-46, then you can play this back next week. But I just don't see how the Saints can win with the over. For the Saints to win, it's going to have to be a 17-14 kind of game. And for them to win the turnover battle by multiple turnovers, they're going to have to force Josh Allen into throwing picks. They're going to have to force fumbles. They're going to have to play great on special teams, which isn't impossible. But so I don't think it's an impossible scenario where the Saints win tonight. But I just don't, somebody knows more than I do, because the line, like I said, the line keeps going up. And 9.5 times out of 10, when the line moves like that, I take the other way. But I'm just staying away from this game. I'm not betting it at all. I've got Buffalo and a couple of teasers, but I'm not betting this game at all because I don't like the movement that it's going. And bookies rarely lose. And for the line to keep going up this much, and I think 85% of the money is on Buffalo, and I'm not taking Buffalo, but I'm certainly not taking the Saints either.
That's an interesting point, because Thanksgiving Day games are the most public of any games. The public loves to bet them. They're the only games of the day, especially the night game. And so the line movement may be a sign of public money more than it is sharp money. I think in this case it's both, but it is a very public game. And so we'll see. If the Saints do win 48-46, pour yourself a hottie toddy, have an extra slice of pumpkin pie on Jim, and have a chuckle at his expense, because he says no way the Saints cover, no way it's going over. So, or no way the Saints win anyway.
No way the Saints win and it's going over.
Let's talk college football just for a few minutes. We'll switch gears and we'll go back to the Saints, and we'll do a prediction at the end of the show. We're just about 2.5 hours away from kickoff at the Dome. The college football weekend gets going tonight with the Egg Bowl. Okay, Mississippi State, Ole Miss and Mississippi State. You want to talk about an unpredictable series. This is the series that brought you the fire hydrant. If you know what I'm talking about. The celebration heard around the state of Mississippi and around the college football world. It has brought you so many other crazy games. This is one of the years that both teams are good, and this game's very meaningful. It could mean a New Year's Six Bowl for Ole Miss if they win. It could mean maybe the Citrus Bowl for Mississippi State if they win. It's a big game, and Mississippi State's actually favored in this game by a couple of points at home. It kicks off at 6:30. Devin, what do you make of the Egg Bowl?
It's going to be an entertaining game. You got two of the biggest personalities in college football, Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin, for exact opposite reasons. You got two quarterbacks that are going to throw the ball around a lot. It's probably going to be a lot of points scored tonight, to be honest. Neither defense has been outstanding really this year. And if anything in the past tells us anything, there's going to be an interesting celebration tonight as well. So we'll see what happens. But it should be an entertaining game. And if the Saints game gets ugly, I will certainly be checking that one out.
It's something to flip over to during commercials and halftime, if nothing else. It is an over-under of 65, by the way, so it's a high total. But Jim, you're comfortable with the over, huh?
No,
I'm sorry, Devin. Devin was comfortable with the over.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the over. I think really it's going to turn into a track meet in the second half. When you get into rivalry games like this, and neither team is known for defense, I know sometimes in the first couple quarters you kind of in that feeling out process, but I think there's going to be a lot. If they end up going to over, I think it's because of a big second half by both teams.
Robert, an interesting point there about the Egg Bowl. Weather will be a factor. Said 25 minutes from Starkville. It is raining hard. So I don't think that's good for an air raid offense, by the way. I might go back there and bet on Ole Miss, because Ole Miss can run the ball. Mississippi State struggles if they got to run the ball. Rest of the weekend in college football, a couple of big games tomorrow. Iowa, Nebraska. Iowa trying to win the Big Ten West. Although I believe Wisconsin, if they beat Minnesota, wins the Big Ten West no matter what Iowa does. But that game is tomorrow. Missouri and Arkansas tomorrow. Cincinnati plays East Carolina tomorrow, trying to continue their undefeated run. And then on Saturday, okay, you got three enormous rivalry games Saturday, and it starts at 11 a.m. with Ohio State and Michigan. Buckeyes laying 8 in the Big House. Jim, you don't often get to bet Ohio State -8. Is this a good opportunity to do it?
I think that it is. I mean, Harbaugh has proven that he stinks against top 5 teams and top 10 teams even. So, this isn't so much betting Ohio State, although they have played outstanding the last few weeks, obviously. But I think they've got a point to prove, and they want to prove that they can hang with the Georgias of the world and be up there with them. And I think Ohio State's going to have a great game. So I don't bet a lot of college games. I stay away from the ones unless Devin's all over a team. I might take a team Devin likes or something like that. But I see this as being a statement kind of game. And we talked a couple of weeks ago about how kind of this is separation month. We get into this time of the season. Obviously, this is the end of the season in college football, and I think it works in NFL. Teams start to separate themselves from the pack, and I think this is a perfect chance for Ohio State to make a statement.
Absolutely. They definitely could. Michigan's defense for real, though, Devin.
Yeah. Their defense we have two of the best edge rushers in the country. So if they're going to stay in this game, they have to get after C.J. Stroud, because if they give him time to throw the football, it's going to be a long day for Ohio State. So personally, I kind of like Michigan to cover this one. I know that whenever they play Ohio State, it seems like they get to play football. I don't want to say this year is different, because I don't think it's really different. I think Ohio State will still win the game, but I do like Michigan to cover. I think they can keep the game close. They're going to play ball control on offense and try and limit some of the explosive plays that Ohio State can create. So I'd like Michigan to cover in this game, but I do think Ohio State ultimately wins.
By the way, an update from Dallas. I just heard a groan behind me from the Hoodoo Lounge over there where all the TVs are. The Cowboys missed a field goal. They didn't just miss a field goal.
They didn't just miss a field goal. They missed a 59-yard field goal attempt for some unknown reason, trying a 59-yard field goal, which makes zero sense. And when you got Dallas,
it was off the upright. I mean, it was close.
Yeah, but you don't even try that. You don't try that. Now you give the ball at midfield. And, as someone who has Dallas in their knockout pick with 15 people left with $20,000 right on the line, I'm not real happy about it. Let's just put it this way. It's
we
really
wound Jim up there. I didn't realize. I didn't expect that. 17-6 Raiders.
Not very happy right now.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
It's still only 6 minutes to go, second quarter, so still fairly early in that game. But that's the second of the 3 Thanksgiving Day games in the NFL. Talking a little college football, though, after Ohio State, Michigan, the day just sets up perfectly for viewership on Saturday. You got Ohio State, Michigan at 11 a.m. When that's over, you go straight to the Iron Bowl, Alabama and Auburn. Alabama favored by 19 points in that game. And then after that's over, you go straight to the Bedlam game, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. We talked about with Jim Carville. Oklahoma State favored by 4 points there. Any thoughts, gentlemen, on those 2 games? Obviously, Alabama needs to win to stay in the CFP top 4. And Oklahoma State, the winner is the team that's going to be sort of next in line if somebody should slip up to get into that top 4.
The word is, Zach, and I talked to Mike Detillier on Datitude yesterday. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it. It's a pretty good one. He talks about how if Oklahoma will lose this game, clearly Lincoln Riley is LSU's top choice. I don't think anyone is going to debate that. So if Oklahoma were to win this game, obviously they have a chance. They're going to play in the Big 12 championship game. They could face each other again. So I really like Oklahoma State here because I think there are minds that are elsewhere. I think Lincoln Riley's got a big choice coming up to make, and that choice could be made as soon as this weekend if Oklahoma were to lose. They're going to be all over the phones. They're going to be offering them big bucks, so to speak. Not our big bucks, like real big bucks. And so
well, don't ask Jim for help then.
I don't know anything about big bucks, but I do know that there are going to be a whole lot of zeros in that offer. And you couldn't, like I said, if Lincoln Riley's mind is elsewhere, I just think Oklahoma State's a better team. And Devin can talk more to this than I can. So it might seem like a weird line, but I don't think so at all. I think it's about the right line. And I like Oklahoma State this week.
I wish that line was under 3 because then I really like it. At 4, it gets a little iffy. But it sounds weird to say this, and Devin, I want you to chime in here, but Oklahoma State, out of the Big 12, lo and behold, believe it or not, might have the best defense in the country. I mean, that defense is spectacular.
Yeah, definitely a top 5 defense in the country, and that's the reason that they're where they are, because their offense, contrary to some of the past Mike Gundy teams, their offense isn't as dynamic as they have been in past years. So The defense is getting after it, they're creating turnovers, and they're essentially helping them win games. And, with a young quarterback for Oklahoma, he's probably going to make a mistake or two because that's just his style of play. And against Oklahoma State, you really can't afford to turn the ball over. This is kind of a better version of the Iowa defense, if that makes sense. Earlier in the season, we were talking about them getting a bunch of turnovers, but they've kind of waned out down the stretch. Oklahoma State is good at all three levels, and I think Oklahoma's going to have a tough time, especially with their questionable offensive line. So it could be a long night for Oklahoma. And I think for Oklahoma State, they kind of had to get over that feeling of losing all those years against Oklahoma and them kind of being the big brother to them. I think this is a game that Oklahoma State can make a statement and ultimately pull out the victory.
Yeah, I mean, but it just from a viewership perspective, it sets up spectacularly. Ohio State, Michigan, followed by the Iron Bowl, followed by the Bedlam game, and by the way, Saturday night at 6 o'clock, LSU and Texas A&M, almost certainly the last game in Ed Ogeron's coaching tenure. I guess there's a chance he could coach a bowl game. I really think they'd go to an interim coach if they went to a bowl game. Most people I've talked to, Scott Rabelais, the Advocate columnist, agreed with me on that. I mean, I think if they go to a bowl, they'll go the interim route and not keep Ogeron around. This line to me, and Jim, I know you agree with me, we just went different ways on it. It seems way too low. It seems like a trap. A&M should be favored by 9 or 10 points here, I think.
Way, way, way too low. I mean, it's to the point where I don't understand it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And so, I mean, I don't even know. In real life, I'm not going to touch this game. I mean, normally I would be all over Texas A&M here, but I don't know how you can. It stinks to high. If it was, I'd be more inclined to take Texas A&M if it were like 13. Which is what I think it should be, 12 or 13. But we know Texas A&M has laid eggs when they've had a chance to put things away. They're in a position to play in a nice bowl as well. LSU, I'm not sure they even want to play in a bowl. You talk about a potential interim coach. I'm staying away from this game.
It's a funny game because I think you and I went opposite directions. Early in the week, I was thinking, LSU can cover. They're going to go play hard for Coach O one last time. Can't you just see the vision of them carrying their coach off the field like Les Miles had happened to him against Texas A&M in 2016? So, but then midweek I started thinking about it. I'm like, on paper, look, this is a mismatch. This is a total mismatch on paper. LSU just as likely won't care, and once they get hit in the mouth a couple times, we'll roll over. I'm going A&M. You were the opposite way, where early in the week you said A&M's going to roll, and then as you saw what was going on with the line, you kind of had second thoughts. So really interesting line here. Devin, where do you come down on it with A&M minus 6.5?
I would still pick Texas A&M to cover. I think LSU is going to give them their best shot in the first half. And knowing that it's could be Ed Ogeron's last game, I think they're going to come out and look good early. But as we know and we've seen over the course of the season, those second and third quarters for LSU have been brutal. They've just had no rhythm offensively. Defense is on the field too long, and I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to come out fired up in first quarter and probably come up with a few tricks up their sleeve. But I think ultimately Texas A&M wins by a touchdown and maybe more in this one.
Zach, what surprises me most of all is the fact that the line hasn't really moved. So obviously a bunch of big money thinks that LSU is going to be able to cover here. So another reason why I wouldn't touch it with the stick. So the line was so weird. It's the only reason why I took LSU. If like I said, if it had been 12 or 13, I'd have been more inclined to take Texas A&M, but I'm not. Somebody knows something more than I know, and I'm just going to stay away from
it. I mean, it's fascinating. I don't know if that's just expecting that emotional bump. Ogeron is an emotional coach. He has been at his best in Baton Rouge when the odds seem stacked against him, no pun intended. And like the odds are as stacked against him here as they've ever been. Just like Alabama a couple weeks ago, it seemed like they were going to get blown out. He's an emotional coach. He's not a great X's and O's guy. He's not consistent. We all know the problems that he's had, but he has absolutely been at his best when he's cornered, and he is cornered right now. And the question is, can they come out one last time and one more memorable victory in Ed Ogeron's tenure, or at least a memorable cover if you bet on LSU. But it's that's really what it's going to take. That's really what it's going to take. Hey, let's take a look at big bucks. Let's move into that portion of our show before we turn back around and look at Bills and Saints. Our Week 11 results. Devin, another good week. Jim Derry, another bad week. It was the Buffalo Bills who cost him over $400. It wasn't just the money line, but they also cost you on a couple of teasers, Jim. And I won $69 last week, a performance that can only be described as nice. I took Tulane, lost on the Jaguars. So, Devin, what worked for you last week?
Pretty much everything. I think I only lost two. I think I only lost 2 games. And honestly, I really didn't expect Cincinnati to just blow away SMU. So that was a bad pick on my part. I don't remember the other one that I missed, but I already knew that the UL line was ridiculous against Liberty, and they ended up winning by, I believe, 4 touchdowns. So I knew that line was – it just screamed to me that was ridiculous. For whatever reason, Vegas doesn't like UL for whatever reason, but I really didn't have much complaints. I knew the Colts would cover, but I honestly didn't see that one coming either.
Yeah, I mean, and you bet big on the Raging Cajuns, and actually said afterward you wish you had bet more.
Yeah, I should have put a couple hundred on it, because I knew for sure that UL will win the game straight up. I just didn't know they were going to win by that much, but I definitely should have put as much as I could on that one.
Absolutely. Jim, the Bills let you down. That strategy to guarantee a profit didn't work so well.
No, it didn't. And by the way, I apologize if my audio has changed a little bit. I had to go to remote power. What little remote power I have here in my backyard is my house is just an avalanche of noise. Look, I don't regret the pick that I made. Sure, when you lose, you lose. But I think my logic in doing what I did was solid. I stuck with what my beliefs were, and I missed. So, which is one thing I suggest to the public, and I continue to suggest. So I'm not going to get away from my strategies when I like what I'm doing there. The week before, I was a little unhappy with myself because I kind of went away from some things, and we talked about teasers and why you pick teasers, certain teasers, and what numbers you need to get at. But I don't regret what I did last week. I think my logic was sound. I would do the same picks again. They were, the big ones, not all the big ones, but the main big ones, everything that involved Buffalo was wrong. And so, again, you have to just go through your own strategies and take your own best picks, whether you pair them with someone else that you respect, or you say, look, this is something I like because, I like this, and so likes it as well. And then you take it. But, these were just picks that I really liked. I just thought the Bills were a better team. I thought the Colts' schedule had been soft, to put it that way. I thought they were a little overinflated. And, I'm not so sure that I don't still think that, even though Jonathan Taylor obviously had the day of his life. It was one of those games where, kind of like the Cowboys against the Broncos a few weeks ago, where things started bad and they just snowballed. If they played that game 10 times, I think the Bills would win 7 of them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was a bloodbath that nobody expected it to be that bad, but it did cost you big. Hey, you're watching At the Book at bet.NOLA.com, brought to you by the Caesar Sportsbook. Zach Ewing, Devin Jackson, and Jim Derry here with you for another few minutes as we get you ready for Saints and Bills. It's about 5 o'clock here in New Orleans, and the game kicks off at 7:20. Before our final thoughts on that one, let's talk big bucks, our best bets for Week 12. And Devin, as you have done all year with great success going off the grid a little bit for this pick, Akron getting 28.5 in Toledo on Saturday.
Yeah, this is kind of a game that, Akron has actually looked pretty good in MAC play. So I took something a little bit off the radar. They just came off a 38-0 loss, so it doesn't look great, kind of looking at the stats and whatnot. But Akron has been a much improved team, and I think they can cover that huge spread that Toledo is laying right on this Saturday. So I want Akron to cover that one and put quite a few dollars on it.
And Jim, your best bet was Cowboys Raiders under 51.5. Obviously, that's going on now. See, they're at 23 total points. Cowboys in the red zone, final minute of the first half. So you're sort of in limbo on that one.
I'm actually about to root against myself. I can tell you that right now. Like I said,
you're going to need the Cowboys to win.
I got the Cowboys to win in my knockout pool, and I could care less about the bet that I made on the under in this game. I mean, but in all honesty, the logic was that the Raiders have had all their issues. I didn't realize when I made this pick that we would be on the air during the game. I probably wouldn't have taken it, but I think my thought process was the Raiders have having so many off the field issues that have obviously caught up with them, and the Cowboys are banged up. So I really like the under. I didn't want to. If I would have had to take the spread in this game, I would have taken the Raiders. I thought it was going to be a tight game. The reason why I took the Cowboys in my knockout pick, frankly, is because I didn't have anything else that I even kind of trusted. So this game is coming fairly close to what I thought. It's probably a little bit higher scoring than I thought it would be. But obviously, I want the Raiders not to score again and the Cowboys to score quite a few more times. This is what I would really like.
Yeah. There is a very small window for the Cowboys to win, 27-20 or something, where you can get under both and still get a Cowboys win. So we'll see what happens in the second half. The Cowboys now have first and goal at the Raiders 1, looking to cut into that 17-6 lead. My best bet for the week, Notre Dame laying 19 points on the road, which seems like a lot for a road team. But if you've seen Notre Dame, they have been taking some names while they kick butt the last few weeks. And Stanford, on the other hand, has frankly quit. And I don't understand this line. It should be well into the 20s. Notre Dame's trying to impress people to get into the playoff. Love the Irish this week. I don't see how this isn't at least 3 touchdowns by the end of the day. So that's my big bucks best bet. Let's get into the rest of them with Devin Jackson. Devin, you went a little bit higher this week on some. We talked about that Akron-Toledo up to $77. Also $55 a couple other places, including on the Sooners.
Yeah. I talked about. I think I talked about that game, and I guess I changed while I was on the air. But I do think Oklahoma State wins the game. And I don't know. The 4-point line seems just. I feel like if it was 3 points, I would have taken Oklahoma State, but I think Oklahoma loses like a heartbreaker type of game. I think it's going to be a really good game, so that's why I ended up taking Oklahoma in that one. Looking at some of the other ones, the Wake Forest Boston College game, there's no way. I think it gets to 64.5. I just think Boston College is a very pro kind of traditional style of offense. Wake Forest has put up a lot of points, but they've struggled the last few weeks against actually good defenses. Clemson shut them down last week. Boston College has a really good defense, so I'm taking an under in that game. Once again, Liberty favored against a team that they're not better than. I'm going to bet against Liberty again, and I'm taking Army to cover that 3.5 point spread. I think Army will win outright. And then one last one I want to point out. I'm taking the Chargers 2.5 against the Broncos. I just think the Broncos are kind of in that point of the season where they understand they're probably not a playoff team. And I think the Chargers are going to start getting on a roll here. I know it's a divisional game. You probably shouldn't take the road team in a divisional game, but I do think the Chargers end up winning that one by 3 or more points.
Jim, before we get to your big bucks picks, we have a question here from the sports and music man, and you're just the man to answer it. Jesuit or Brother Martin this weekend? Who do you like?
What's the line?
Let's not go there on a high school game. Hey, but I will say there'll be somebody in the stands who's betting on that game. There always is.
I think Brother Martin is clearly the better team, and it is. Look, they're expecting between 20 and 25,000 people at Ted Gormley Stadium tomorrow night, so it's going to be a big one. Everything I hear, they're selling tickets galore. They've sold. Brother Martin has sold like 2,000 tickets a day for 3 days in a row, so it's going to be a big one. I like Brother Martin. I think they're the best team in the state in Division I for sure, and I don't think they can be stopped. I think they've got a point to prove, being the 11 seed, having all those wins stripped from them. They've got a point to prove. And the last time the two teams played, it went into triple overtime, and Brother Martin won. I don't think this one's going to be nearly as close. I love Ryan Manali at Jesuit and what he's done, but I just don't see how this game's close. I think Brother Martin wins at least by a couple touchdowns.
And then Swampy also with some FCS shout-outs. And hey, I agree, FCS playoffs are fantastic. I wish they'd do that in the FBS. Shout-out Southeastern's in the FCS playoffs. They're playing Florida A&M on Saturday, and that was despite losing the River Bell game to Nichols. So shout-out to Nichols. They didn't have the season they wanted either. But Nichols wins that rivalry game. Southeastern still gets in the playoffs. So they play FAMU on Saturday. That's number 17 against number 22 in the first round. So we want to shout those out. A big weekend of football all over the place. Jim, how about the rest of your big bucks picks? I believe you're all NFL all the time this week.
Shout out to the mosquitoes that have swamped me in naturist Mandeville here.
They're trying to drain the rest of the money from your account.
Yeah, exactly. What they haven't drained from me already, they're going to try to drain from me here. A couple things I really like, and look, I love the Titans this week. Hence, I put them in the money line, but you can get them in an outline. I'm not a big fan of 6.5s, okay, and or 7s really. So, if you think the Titans are gonna cover, why not take them? Give a point away. You can get them at plus 105. At least you could as of yesterday afternoon. You get them at 5.5 plus 105. You don't have to give up the juice. I think the Titans going to win straight up, but I like to do these sorts of things. I take them with the line. I take them with the money line. You kind of cover yourself if they don't win, but they fall in between. So obviously, my strategy this week is big on the Titans. Last week it was Bills. It didn't work. Let's see if it works this week. And then I got another teaser. I love my teaser this week. Vikings, you're up there, line to 9. Bills, you just make it so they got to win tonight. When I made this pick, the line was at 6. So, those are the key numbers. You're going through key numbers there. You're going past 6. You're going through 3.5. You're going through 3, through 2.5. I really like the Bills with that pick. And then I also like the Falcons this week to win straight up. I think the line has moved up, has ticked up now. I don't know if there was an injury or if big money came in on the Falcons or what, but this line has moved up. I still like them to cover, but when I put this pick in, it was pick 'em. I think it's 2 or 2.5 now, but I really like Atlanta to bounce back. Their O-line is terrible, but the Jaguars aren't that great up front besides Josh Allen. And frankly, I just don't think they care. I just don't think the Jaguars care. The Falcons don't want to end the way that they've been playing the last few weeks. And then the last two here are the big games of the week, obviously. Look, I think the Colts getting points at home from the Buccaneers. I'm not sure that line makes sense. You got to believe in Indy now, right? And the Tampa Bay has been bad on the road. I mean, we know how good they are, and we know they're defending champs, so all we see is what we saw last. And what we saw last was they dominated a bad Giants team at the Pirate ship. I'm not that excited about it. I think Indy, I think they win straight up here, although we'll take the 3 points and did not play it on the money line. And then the Rams are super desperate. I mean, 2 losses and then coming off of a bye. Matt Stafford can't play as bad as he played in the 2 games he played before the bye. The Packers have some interesting things going on with Aaron Rodgers' quote-unquote COVID toe. It's not a COVID toe. I don't know what's going on right there.
What a mess.
I'm gonna take the Rams there.
Guy's sticking his toe in the camera, and you were the one who said it was COVID toe on the Pat McAfee show, and then he's calling out reporters who didn't even write the story. Like, what an absolute disaster!
COVID toe.
What an absolute disaster that situation is. Great quarterback, questionable logic. Let's just put it, just a bit, huh? Big bucks picks for me this week. I'm going to go tomorrow night with Cincinnati. I'm back on the Bearcats. They cost me big a couple of weeks ago, but I just feel like they got to keep making statements. They can't let that Bedlam winner sneak up on them in the top 4. If they're going to win, they've got to win big. And so I think they go to ECU and take care of that. A couple other games I really like. Illinois against Northwestern. I'm really picking on bad teams. We talked about Notre Dame and Stanford. West Virginia, Kansas. Kansas gets overrated after a couple of good weeks. 15.5 is not enough. Arizona's a terrible team. Vanderbilt's a terrible team. Northwestern's a terrible team. What do we want? Like, these teams the last week of the year, if you hit them in the mouth, they will roll over. They're not going to bowl games. They just want the season to end. And so that's why I'm picking on those teams this week. And then in the NFL, I do like the Rams, Jim. I agree with you on that one. I think the Rams are undervalued because they've looked bad on prime time. And so that's what everybody sees, right? They see these. I didn't pick it, but I do like the Rams. And then same thing. Texans go into Tennessee and beat the Titans, and now all of a sudden they're favored. Texans shouldn't be favored against anybody. Not against anybody. I'll take the Jets. I will take the Jets on the road with the money line, as crazy as that sounds. And then I think the Bengals make a statement. I don't think the Steelers are very good either. So those are my big bucks picks for the week as I try to crawl back to our starting point of 2000. Guys, before we go, we're a couple hours away now from Bills at Saints at the Dome Thanksgiving night. By the way, the Cowboys did score before half. It's 17-13 Raiders at the half, so a pretty good one going there. When that one is over, we will be ready for Bills and Saints. Final predictions, first from you, Jim Derry. What do you have for us tonight?
Bills 27, Saints 7. I just don't. Again, I mean, I've made it pretty clear. I don't think their offense is any good with this quarterback, and certainly not with any weapon. So I can't believe in them. If they prove me wrong, great. I'd be happy to eat crow. But I don't. I think the defense will play okay, and really, in the grand scheme of things, other than letting Jalen Hurts go a little bit, they have trouble with running quarterbacks. Another reason, Josh Allen is due for a big game. I think he could have one here. I mean, look, it's easy to say they've lost 3 in a row. You got to believe. I did that last week. They lost 2 in a row. I was betting on in Peyton we trust. I can't do it again. I got to go with what my handicap tells me. And even with their weapons, I think the Saints would have a tough time moving the football with this quarterback. And certainly with no help and without Ryan Ramczyk, we don't know Teron Armstead. We know Kamara and Ingram are out. We know the receivers are having trouble catching the ball. We know Adam Troutman's gone. What else do you need to see to know that they're going to have a tough time scoring? And I don't see how they win this football game. And frankly, I don't see how they cover either.
All right. How about you, Devin? What's your final score pick?
I'm going to go with Bills 27, Saints 17. I think this game is going to get out of hand in the third quarter, and ultimately the Saints are going to be doing what they did in the last couple games and going driving down towards the end of the game and scoring late touchdowns to make the game closer than what it is. I think the Bills will probably control the game most of the second half. I think they'll be able to pull away and pull out the victory. So I got Bills 27, Saints 17.
You guys both have the Bills 27, so I'll say Bills 28, Saints 21. We're going to go with a push on the 7-point line. I do think the Saints are going to keep this close for a while. I just feel like, sort of like Ed Ogeron, they're good when everybody counts them out. Sean Payton always has something up his sleeve. I think he's had this game and next week's game circled as games they've got to have. Ultimately, I think they don't have enough firepower to get it, but I do think Trevor Siemian will play a little bit better. I think we'll see more Taysom Hill tonight. I think the Saints will score more points than Jim does. Ultimately, I don't think it'll be enough against what is also a desperate Bills team. So
you give me the Saints under for even money, under 20 for even money.
What are we betting?
I don't know. You name it.
We'll talk about that offline.
Pizza?
How's that? I am hungry right now, by the way, so maybe some Thanksgiving leftovers.
I got plenty of that.
Yeah. Well, we're having our Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow, so I may just not eat until then. I don't know. Hey, this has been At the Book. We appreciate everybody joining us today. Jim and Devin here with me. I'm at Harrah's Casino in New Orleans. They're joining me remotely. Guys, final thoughts on a great holiday weekend.
That's exactly what this is. I'm sorry, Devin. It's a great holiday weekend. And you know what? You can make bets and lose bets and win bets and lose knockout picks and whatever. It's about family. It's about friends. It's about a way more than sports. So we have a great time here at bet.NOLA.com, and I love my new colleagues. But enjoy the time with your family and your friends. And as someone who's lost a couple dear friends over the past couple of years, just by COVID and a couple other things, enjoy what you never know. Enjoy whatever time you have with your family and your friends, and look around the room and see who's with you this Thanksgiving, and this coming Christmas and all that stuff, because you never know who's going to be with you at the next holiday. And I say to all my friends here at bet.NOLA.com and all the listeners and the watchers, peace and love.
And thank you, Robert. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, and to you too, Jim. And I do want to say, Devin, before your final thought, I want to give just a moment of reflection and to wish all the thoughts to his family. Cecil Hurt, longtime Alabama beat writer at the Tuscaloosa News, passed away was it yesterday? I think it was Tuesday.
Two days ago.
Yeah, of pneumonia, and just a heartbreaking news in the sports journalism world. And so our hearts go out to him and his family and his friends and everybody in that in that circle. So getting a little emotional there, Devin. What do you got for us?
Yeah, just happy to join you guys on this Thanksgiving episode. And take some time, talk some football, some betting, and obviously talk about big bucks. It's always my favorite time of the week. But
of course it is.
But looking forward to the slate of football games this weekend. Should be a good one. Rivalry week always provides us with great moments, so definitely looking forward to it. And hope everyone that's listening and watching a happy Thanksgiving, and hope you enjoy with your family.
It's getting dark out there on Jim Derry, just like it's getting dark on his big bucks balance, man.
It is.
Hey,
kind of signifying.
That's right. Bills Saints in a couple of hours. Enjoy it. Check out NOLA.com for all the coverage before, during, and after the game. We've got you covered. Bet.NOLA.com for all of your betting action. And we hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving. Check out NOLA.com/Caesar. Sign up for that mobile sports book. It will be ready soon, sometime during this holiday season. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and we'll see you next week.